Hello and welcome to another episode of Mastering Adam. My name is Casper Stockham. Mastering Adam is a podcast that came about, and the goal is to become the best Adam for your Eve. Now, I'm excited today because I have a good friend of mine, longtime friend actually. I think we probably known each other for at least 30 years.
It's been a long time.
Been a long time for sure.
We're
I'm gonna,
kind of old.
yeah. I'm gonna introduce you guys to him in just a second. We are streaming on Facebook, so if you have any questions or comments for Wayne and myself, feel free to chime in, and we'll see if we can get those questions answered. I want to put a shout out to our sponsors, which are I Am Love Builders, and we have a book that was released in August, and it hit the hot new release list on Amazon called Divorce Proof in Your Marriage. We're excited about that. We also have a new program that I'm trying to find. I don't have the image, but it's called MVP, Most Valuable Partner. So we just released this. We're going to do bi weekly calls starting in January, live calls, and we'll be doing teaching, some coaching and training and so forth on those calls. And uh, look into it. I think you're going to be really happy with our MVP partner program. So go ahead and check that out. All right. So my guest host today is Wayne E. Coulter. He's a longtime friend, a native of Colorado, which is it's weird to meet somebody that's actually from here. But he's a father of five, grandfather, and a Christian conservative. Now, when I know we follow each other on Facebook, you may not know, but I'm a great grandfather. I am
Yeah.
a great grandfather.
You don't look old enough to be a great grand, but
Well, it's called Just for Men. So I'll go
okay.
down to Walmart and hook me up. I got tired of growing old, man, because Cheryl, my wife and stuff, she just looks the same. She never grows old.
Yeah, she looks
What-
great.
Yeah. So I said, you know what? I need to get on that program. So, all right. So our topic today is going to be the importance of opening doors for others. And we look at Adam's life, Adam and Eve, and the fall, and all the things that went on there. I mean, I tell people all the time, this show is called Mastering Adam, but it winds up being Mastering Casper because I've been on obviously every episode and the host, right? And some of my guests have come on and just shared some things that I was like, wow, I never even considered that. Um, but opening doors, now you can look at that kind of negative or positive, right? Because you open a door, like Adam and Eve opened the door to Satan, basically.
Yeah,
Um, but the type of doors we're trying to open are doors to encourage and help people and motivate them and uplift them.
absolutely.
And I know with you having children and grandchildren, I'm sure that you're always potentially looking for ways to open doors for them. What are your thoughts on that?
All the time, because the world we're in right now is a little different, Casper,
Mm-hmm.
than what you and I grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of challenges, a lot of distractions, a lot of things that just aren't good for the younger generation today. So when I think about mastering Adam, your subject matter,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like I was telling you before, I think for the most part, uh, we dropped the ball. Not all of us, but too many of us have
Yeah.
dropped the ball in that respect because we failed to lead, first of all, our spouse
Right.
and our children
Mm-hmm.
uh, in the down the path of righteousness.
Right.
And when we fail to do our job, then it affects not only our family, but by extension, it will affect our community, and by extension, it will affect the whole world, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's what we're witnessing right now. If you just look around, things seem to be spiraling out of control. Depravity and godlessness is just wickedness. It's like it's just rapidly growing, and it's
Yeah.
that's concerning to me.
Yeah. You know what I find disheartening as well is when I talk to my children sometimes, and they'll say something or I'll say something. They'll say, "Oh, that's so old fashioned," or "That's so 90s," or whatever, whatever they
Yeah,
say. And I'm saying, no, that's when we actually had respect for each other,
yeah,
and even further back, when I was growing up, I don't care how crazy the elder person was, right? We had respect for them, and Mrs. So and so or Mr. So and so, and we just had a different era of a different level of just respect for life, respect for each other. Now, there's always the fight or the feud or the craziness going on. I'm not saying
hmm
it was anywhere close to being perfect at all, but it's just today's society is so out of whack. And to your point, the male man has been so marginalized and put into a place to where you can't even act like a man
yeah,
in society. Otherwise, they're gonna say, "Oh, you're Mr. Macho, or you're this." No, no, I'm just, dude. I'm being who God made me to be.
exactly.
Right? I'm not trying to be something other than. In fact, I'm definitely not trying to put on a dress and
Right,
and prance around. Right?
right.
I'm trying to do what God called me to do. That Christian alignment. Um,
Exactly.
we've talked about on the show many times. I'm um, we are the first line of defense when it comes to the enemy attacking our family.
Absolutely.
In a lot of cases, the men have kind of stepped back and let the women uh, be that first line of defense, and our
Yeah,
society
yeah.
is a result of it.
And we saw that at play in Genesis, where um, when the enemy came, he tempted the woman
Mm-hmm.
first,
Mm-hmm.
and he began to twist God's words. Did God
Right.
really say this?
Right.
And we know what God told Adam. He told Adam, of that tree you should
Sure.
not eat.
Yeah. Right.
So
Right.
we see how he attacked the woman first, and we know Adam was there
Yeah.
because she said she gave to him, and he also ate.
Yeah. She just handed it to him basically, so
Yeah,
he had to be
he
close
had to be.
by. Yeah.
And I don't know, did God also tell Eve that she should not eat of that tree, or did he just tell Adam and then he conveyed
Had
that to her?
had to share that with her. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't know how that all happened, but we do know that he was there, and he kind of uh, let his authority slide.
Exactly, exactly. That whole interaction is fascinating to me, and we've
Yes.
unpacked it several times on this show because if you think about it, the conversation that the Bible illustrates between Satan and Eve is not a conversation that you start out with. You don't just walk up. I don't just walk up to you and say, "Now, did your wife really say?" Right?
Yeah.
It's something that had to have built over
Yes.
a course of a couple of days or something, right? It's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
it's not a initial conversation.
Yeah.
So obviously, it wasn't strange for Adam and Eve to be speaking to animals and talking to
hmm
animals, and it
hmm
wasn't even stranger for a snake to speak
Right.
because otherwise she'd have said, "Whoa, I'm out of here." Adam, he said, "We're out of here. We got talking snakes going on, right?" Um, so none of that was odd, and that could have been why Adam wasn't so um, so protective, right? I mean, he could have seen the conversation. Oh, the snake's talking to Eve again,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then come to find out that Satan was in the snake, and that's the entity that was having the conversation. So,
Right.
man, it's so deep,
Yeah. There's so many principles right there, just in that first section of Genesis. I mean, lots of life principles as far as relationship and
Mhm,
provision and responsibility and accountability.
mhm.
It's a whole lot there, and the way things changed. because of that, and how our relationships with one another somewhat changed because uh, God told woman at that point that your desire will be for your husband
Right.
and he will rule over you. But we can't really take that out of context and think that we can lord it over our wives, because we should deal with them in understanding and in knowledge,
Yeah.
understanding that they are the weaker vessel,
Yeah.
and we are to protect them
And we're to
and to
love
love
them like Christ loved the church.
yeah, like Christ loved the church. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I talk about the alignment often. In fact, I've talked about it on the show. And when we are in proper alignment, our wives are far more likely to follow our lead when we're in alignment with God. But when we
Yeah.
get out of alignment, that's when they have to make some decisions. Okay, do I follow this knucklehead or do I follow God? Right. Um,
Yeah.
and that's when all of us get into trouble. The guy gets in trouble, and then he inadvertently pulls his wife or his spouse or his partner into that foolishness as well.
Yeah.
So the alignment is critical. We need to
Absolutely.
be in alignment with God so that our spouse, when they see us, I'm not saying they see God, but they see the likeness of God. They see
Absolutely.
the love of God through us, and then it makes it easier for them to follow.
Absolutely. And when we don't do that, like it says in First Peter 3:7,
Mhm.
at least our prayers can be hindered if we don't fall into that proper alignment with one another.
Man, and you touched on something there, because a lot of people pray all the time, but their prayers are being hindered. And the Bible talks about this. It's not something
Yeah.
you and I are making up.
Yeah.
If you don't have the proper love alignment, your prayers are hindered.
Yes.
If you don't have the proper faith, I mean, there's all kinds of things that are required for that prayer to be effective. Now, you can pray all day long, but if you have a mean-spirited heart, right? If your heart's not in the right place, if you have like, for example, if there's an issue between you and I that we both kind of know about, we're angry over whatever, and then I go to pray for God's forgiveness,
Yeah.
the first thing God is saying, well, you need to get it right with Wayne
That's
before
right. That's right.
before you bring anything to me. You
Yeah.
need to get it right.
Yeah. And we know that.
Yeah.
We might try and bypass that, but we know that.
Yeah.
You got to make it right, or you're, even while you're praying, you're gonna know.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna make it clear to you.
Yep, absolutely. One of the over the years, I've done these workshops in the inner city, and I talk to a lot of inner city youth, and I love talking to youth because they're the future, right? We gotta start instilling some principles, some values and principles into the youth. Otherwise, society's lost.
Yes.
And I think the enemy knows this. That's why school, the educational system is under attack so much, is because the enemy knows if he gets the children, it's over.
Yes. Yes.
So one of the things I asked them, and asked for a show of hands, I said, how many of you guys have doors open for you? And, maybe one or two hands go up in a room of 20 or 30 kids. And I say, now I have doors open for me 24/7, all the time, literally all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hopefully it's not just because I'm old, right? It's because of something else, right? And
Yeah.
I said, but there's a reason why I have doors opening for me all the time. And it's because I open doors all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean physical doors, and I'm talking about just spiritually as well. I'm trying to help as many people as possible. I'm trying to give back, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to like a physical door, like going into a store or restaurant, whatever, if I get there first and somebody's coming up behind me, I open the door and hold it for them. Now, it'd be nice if they said thank you, but that's not the most important thing.
Right.
The most important thing is for me to open the door.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because sometimes there's like I'm going up to the door, but there's another person or guy or going up to the door, and we're like, figuring out who's going to get there first so we can
Right.
open before
Who's
each
gonna
other.
hold that door open? Yeah.
Who's going to hold the door open? And then sometimes there's two doors, right? You walk
Right.
into a restaurant, there's the
And so
outer door.
you open one, and then he opens the next one for you.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's happened several times with me. I know what you're
right,
talking about.
right.
Yeah.
And it's a it's talking about the physical door, but it's a visual that kids need to understand.
Hmm.
You need to be focused on helping other people. The joy. There's more joy in that than they talk about the joy of giving rather than receiving.
Hmm.
But there's more joy and fulfillment in doing those kind of things
Yeah.
as to where you're
Yes.
just going out trying to take stuff.
And those things don't come naturally to kids, because if they don't see it modeled in their lives, then it's not something that they do. I mean, I've gone, like when you're talking about the door, where a little kid in front of me will open the door and just let it close.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
not even thinking about
Not even thinking
open
about
the door. Not all of them are that way, but a lot of them are. It doesn't even cross their mind that they should hold the door open for someone else,
it. Right,
because that kind of thing is not modeled to them in their lives.
right.
And especially the younger men who don't have a father to show them how to be a man, how to be a protector, how to be in alignment with God, in your wife and your kids,
Right.
Properly. So that's what's missing in our society. I mean, a lot of them just have no idea about any of that.
Yeah, it is, and I have to take some responsibility for that because I haven't always been the person that has tried to teach that or
Mhm.
model that, right? In my youth, I had some of the same challenges that the youth that I'm talking to have.
Yeah.
So and I'm transparent about that, and now
Mhm.
I'm trying to overcompensate for for my lack of doing that when I was young. But it is what it is, right? Once you
Yeah.
learn, then you can take that forward.
Yeah. You move on. And I was fortunate. I grew up with in a 2-parent home.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things were modeled to me. And so that kind of thing comes natural for me, but not
Mm-hmm.
everybody is that way.
Right.
And I understand that. So they have to be taught.
Yeah, yeah. And my parents were really good parents and stuff. Our home was kind of like the go-to home in the neighborhood. But I think it was mainly because my mom loved to cook, right? So there was always
Yeah.
cake or
Yeah.
cookies or
Yeah.
some snacks or whatever. So the kids like, I'm going over there.
Yeah. And my mom was the same way. I
Yeah.
mean, if
Yeah.
she could still do that, she would do it this very day.
Right.
She's
Right.
much older now, but that's what she always did.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't remember any lessons from my dad, talking about the things we're talking about right now. I don't
Mhm.
remember lessons about, well, they did talk about respecting elders, but I don't remember any lessons about opening doors and things like that. Now,
Mhm.
it's funny because I know now, looking back on it, I know my father knew this because he was a door opener.
Mhm.
He would always do that kind of thing, but he never explained why he was doing it.
Mhm.
Right. So I never even paid any attention to it because kids don't pay attention to anything until they get older. Right.
Right.
And then they
Right.
look back on it and say, oh, that's what he was doing. And that's
Yeah.
what he was saying.
Yeah.
Right. So I think sometimes we have to almost slow down and say, son, there's a reason why I open the door for people.
Mhm.
There's a reason why I do X, Y, and Z,
That's
because
right.
of this, because of that.
Yeah. And that's the best way to teach kids, through illustration and tell them, walk them through things, so it sinks in and they hold on to it for life.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Hey, folks, if you're following us on Facebook or any of the other platforms, I'm monitoring Facebook for sure. So if you have any questions for Wayne and myself, feel free to chime in and ask a question or two. We'd love to be able to address those if you have any questions. I don't see any questions right now. I'm just kind of monitoring that. Um, there, Now, there was a question that I've asked from time to time to my guests.
Mhm.
There is no right or wrong answer to this, but I'm curious as to what your take on it, because I know you've been married for how long now?
It's 5 years.
5 years, but you guys have been together for a while, so
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
And
so
and this is a second marriage for me.
Well, yeah, I don't even want to start counting, but this, this is my last marriage. I mean,
Yeah. Mine too. But
yeah,
go ahead with your question.
there you go. Are relationships supposed to be 50-50?
No, it should be 100-100.
Good answer. Good
Yeah,
answer.
because it's gonna. That's what it's gonna take if you're gonna survive. Because there's just so much that's gonna try and work against you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be all in.
Yeah, yeah. So
And
and that's so. So Cheryl and I have the relationship workshops and stuff that we teach couples, and we talk about this because if you name me one thing that you're okay with 50% of it being right. So why would you want the most important relationship connection that you have is your marriage? Why would you want that to be 50-50? So
yeah,
you come to the table with 50%, hopefully, right?
yeah,
And they come to the table with 50%, hopefully, and
maybe a
now
little less.
right. So you should be striving for 100%.
Yeah,
Because we're all human and we all have these challenges, right? So if you fall short, let's say you fall short to 80, and let's say they're shooting for 100 and they fall to 75, you still have a really good marriage going on.
yes,
But if you're just trying to make your little 50, that's the problem with employers and employees, because the employers are just paying you just enough to keep you, and the employees are just working just enough to stay.
just enough to get by.
Right? So they're putting in a little 50% and hoping that the owner goes 50%. Yeah, no, it's 100%. It's all in.
Yeah,
You need to be all into your relationship. And if you fall short, we're all human. I get that. But
yeah,
in the meantime, you got to put in 100% into that.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. I thought we might have had a question, but it didn't show. Okay. Um, now there is another question that has come up over the course of this podcast. Can a married man have a female friend? What do you think about that?
That's a tough one. That's very tough. I almost don't know how to answer that question.
I think it's possible, but that's a very peculiar situation, because
Yes,
that female friend needs to be very aware of the marriage. In other words, never disrespecting the spouse. Not saying, "Man, I don't know why you with her anyway, because she this and she that, and she's not doing this for you." That's
yeah,
not a friend, by the way.
right.
That's the enemy.
Yeah,
That's definitely not a friend.
and
A good female friend to a married guy would be someone who says, "Hey, I met this guy and I want you to check him out. So we're going to go on a double date, and I want you to check." That's a female friend that's not trying to slide into a situation.
yeah,
Does that make sense?
yes, it does.
Yeah.
And there was another question that was
Uh-huh.
on your outline.
Yeah.
That had to do with should a married man still have contact with his ex-wife?
Yeah.
And that's another tough one, because sometimes that contact is needful because there are kids involved.
Correct.
So you still have to have some kind of relationship as far as communicating about those things.
So how do you handle that? Because I know you had that situation. Man.
And that's a delicate situation, because you hope that your wife and your ex can understand that that relationship exists,
Right.
and that there's communication that should happen, and you hope that both can coexist within that.
Yeah.
But that's certainly not the easiest thing to make happen.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, I have a lot of experience in this area. And I think I've tried to handle it well. I have not always handled handled it well, but I think I've been definitely doing better. So here's some pro tips, right? If you have some exes out there, or an ex, or something, in my case, it's some exes. Here's what you do. The first thing is, if you have any communication with your ex, you always tell your spouse. I don't care if it's just a call to say hello.
Mhm.
You know, you say, hey, so-and-so called and said hello. Or I was checking up on a situation with the kids, and I called.
Yeah.
I just had a encounter with one of my exes, not an encounter. I had a conversation with one of my exes, literally, was it yesterday or day before? And when I got home and Cheryl and I got together, I told her that we had a conversation. Now, I didn't go point for point and word for word during the conversation, but I let her know that, there was some communication.
Mhm.
Because in the past, I had had a conversation and I didn't, but then she found out that I did.
Mhm.
And she said, well, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
So now I think about it.
Yeah.
I think about
And
it.
it may appear, innocent and meaningless to us, but we don't know how they perceive it.
Exactly. And if they don't know about it and they hear about it, now you've got to backtrack, and then there's just a lot of doubt involved, right?
Yeah.
So if you just get it out there right now, okay, I had a conversation, yep, and this is roughly what we spoke about, and then normally it's fine, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, it could get worse.
Yeah. So that's good advice. That's good advice.
Yeah, that's a serious pro tip. Well, man, do you have any final thoughts? We're getting right at the top of the hour here. You have any final thoughts before we close out?
One thing I would leave with, when you talk about opening doors, for the younger men, I would certainly try to let them know that in this life, we're going to go through storms in this life, just like they did in the garden. First thing they did is went through a storm of doubt and disbelief. And those things continue through our life. So we just have to understand that there's a purpose. God always has a purpose for allowing storms, or sometimes it's not him allowing it, but it's things you do or someone else does to create trouble in your life.
Yeah.
But God will always see you through.
Amen.
All things work together for good.
For the good. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, folks, we have a free ebook that you can take advantage of. It's the first 5 chapters of our book, Divorce Proofing Your Marriage. It's free from our website. We have a 5-minute and a 20-minute love assessment. You can take those. Those are also free. I was talking earlier about our program. It's called MVP, Most Valuable Partner. We're going to start these calls up live in January, and we're going to have a free relationship training huddle before the live calls. And those are going to be accessible to anyone. They're going to be free. We're going to be going through communication training, forgiveness, financial strategies, all these kind of things to really help you in your relationship. We're going to be starting those up the 1st of January, but you can become an MVP member today by going to our website and clicking on MVP. You'll get all the information. And remember, folks, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. We'll talk to you on the next show. Talk to you.
All right.